Hey guys, it's LP here, and I just thought I'd make a video showing these two, sort of an overview and review of these two glucose monitoring devices and a recommendation. So the one on the left, this one is the Accu-Chek Mobile by Roche, and if you're diabetic and you haven't got one of these, you need to go and get one. It is amazing. It's probably the best device for testing blood sugar that I've ever used. Essential. It's really good. And the only downside I'd say straight off is the test strips are quite expensive. The way it works is you get these cassettes here, and one cassette holds 50 tests, and basically there's a cassette with tape inside, and it just winds round the test strips to the bottom, and once you've tested it, it just winds it round to the next one. So it's really convenient and excellent, although the only downside is if you get a defective test cassette, then you've lost all of your tests. I've been using the Accu-Chek. I've been using it for 8 years. I've only ever had like 1 or 2 defective test cassettes. The thing is, sometimes it will say cassette defective, please replace. And what I do is I just switch it off. Sometimes if you just switch it off and then switch it back on, it will fix itself. So basically you've got the screen there, you've got like a main button here and then an up and down button. On the side you've got the USB output, which is just standard micro USB, and then on the side here you got this pricker, and hold it down like this, and it's the best pricker I've ever used. It's least painful and it's just painless basically, and you adjust the strength of it, how hard it pricks here. You basically have a barrel of needles. You just pull this out and replace it, and it's got 6 needles in each one, so that's excellent. So here you got this slide, and you slide this across to the left. As soon as you slide it across, it will switch on and you can test your blood sugar. You basically just prick your finger there and then apply the drop there. If it's switched off and you want to see what your last test recording was, you just hold this button down and it will show you, and it's got the result in millimoles per litre, time and the date, and you can set up the time and date however you want. And using these buttons you can cycle through your results, so that's really convenient. If you hold down the right button, it just tells you how many tests you got available in the current cassette and the time and date. To change the cassette you just open up, you slide it across, and then there's a slider here you open, and then this hatch just opens up and you put the new cassette in. You can unclip the pricker or replace it if it breaks using this catch. One of the main design flaws in this machine is the catch that attaches the pricker to this device is made of plastic and it's really flimsy, so it breaks really easily. I think it'd be a lot better if they used metal parts for the catch, so that the whole mechanism probably needs to be made of metal, but I guess it'd be more expensive. But can't recommend it enough. It makes your life a lot easier. And I always carry 2 devices with me, just in case one of them breaks, or say if you're out and the cassette breaks, then you want another one spare. This is the Nexus RX. I think the company is called RX Nexus by Cystic Technology. 2 AAA batteries, same as this one. The battery hatch is just at the top, this bit. You just slide this across, and with this one, because it's always good to keep 2 of everything. All of your important equipment, try and have 2 of everything spare, or 3 even. 3 is good, but I always carry 2 with me just in case. And this device is so much different to the Accu-Chek. I believe it uses a different technology to sample and read the blood compared to this one. The design is so different, it's not as good. It's a cheaper design, but it does have some good points. It's only got 1 button on the front here, and it's got a button underneath this hatch. It's got a USB output. The one thing that's better about this device, clearly better, is when you insert a test strip into the top, this blue part lights up, so if you're in a dark room or if you're in bed at night, you can easily see where to put the blood, whereas this one doesn't really have a light. It's got an illuminated backlight on the screen, but it doesn't have a light down here, so you can't use this in the dark without another light coming on. You'd have to switch on your bedside cabinet or something. But this one, definitely better. as far as using at night. And you press the button and then it'll switch on, and then it's got a time and date at the bottom, and you can view your readings sequentially. This is the last reading. And comparing the displays, I mean, they're both legible and bright. I think you can adjust the brightness on this, and they're both good. I kind of prefer this one, because this one isn't so legible from an angle. It just seems that way. I only really use this to look at past results. If you hold it down, it'll eventually switch off. But if you open up the hatch on the back, there's a little button, and it's got a lot of features, like you can set alarms, there's like 5 alarms. Yeah, so I think if you want to do a control test, you have to cycle through and pick it in the menu using the button on the back. So it's a very simple setup there. If you want to change anything or go into setup, it's all done using that little orange button. Everything's done just cycling through the menus and then using the front button to change values and stuff. So as I said, I'm pretty sure this uses a different technology, because you need less blood to perform a test using this, whereas this one needs a 4 times larger, I'd say, speck of blood compared to this one. This one you can test using a really small amount of blood. I think they were saying it's a new technology, but I find there is a difference between readings, because this one seems to average it down to the lowest value. It always seems a bit lower, the result. I think it's because it uses less blood that it gets a lower result. I would say this gives a more average reading, whereas this one will give you the lowest reading. The way it calculates the result is with a lower bias than this one, as far as I'm concerned. I could be wrong, but it just seems to have a lower bias, the way it calculates it, less than this one. So some people will say, oh no, all machines are different, but more negative bias to it. It uses less blood, so maybe that's the reason why. I still recommend this one. I'm happy with this one, it's good. There's not much else to say about this. It's quite simple, it's lightweight. I've dropped this one and it's been fine. The pricker broke off and it wouldn't clip back on because the mechanism is really flimsy. I haven't really dropped this one. It's always good to keep them in a case if you got it. I've got a case. Here's the test strips for this Accu-Chek RX. As you can see, it's a lot different compared to this test cassette. And there's an advantage to having separate test strips, obviously. But obviously it's less convenient. But there are advantages, because if this breaks, then you've probably lost all of your test strips. Whereas obviously this is separate, so you can't really break. Another thing is, if you open the slide up to test your blood sugar and you want to cancel it, you hold this button down to switch it off and you'll lose that test strip. So if you open it to test and then want to test but then decide not to, and you cancel it, you've lost your test. Whereas with this one, if you insert the test strip and decide that you don't want to test, you can literally just pull it back out, put it back in there, and you won't lose your test strip. Just a standard looking strip there. It needs an absolutely tiny amount of blood to test, because some of these test strips you still have to put loads of blood in, but no, this is the smallest amount I've ever known. They're cheaper to buy. This is a lot cheaper setup than the Accu-Chek. These are really expensive, and obviously because it's quite high tech, basic just pieces of plastic, so it's half the price or less. And sometimes if you're not sure about a result, you can always try it on the other machine and compare results, if you haven't ran a control test for a while. But there's a saying, 1 is none, 2 is 1. So it's always good to have at least 2 or 3 of everything that you need. That's pretty much it, the overview of these two machines. But anyway, if I had to rate them, I'd give this one like 8.5 out of 10. It just needs a light on it near the test and could be built a bit sturdier. And I give this one like 7.5, 7 out of 10. It needs more buttons, it's too basic. If it had like 2 or 3 buttons so you could actually easily go through the menus, it'd be so much better. Comment if you have any questions. Oh, the pricker that comes with this is horrible. I never even used it, I just chuck it because this is so much better. So even if you want to use this one, I'd still use this pricker. You can flip it off and yeah, just awful that they make. The one for the Accu-Chek is just head and shoulders above everything else. Okay, well, thanks and until next time.